Alrighty, so now coming up, we are going to be having a talk about virtual intimacy during COVID-19 with Animal Cross. Or unless I have my schedule wrong here, Cody, you gave me a weird face.
It's because you said intimacy.
Intimacy. I actually have some quotes about intimacy if we need to stall for time here.
I think we have one good quote if you want to go ahead and go.
One good quote. Okay, I flipped open to honesty here, so I'm just going to be honest. An honest man is one who's never been caught. I'll let you dig into that quote as much as you want. Hi! Welcome to GDEX.
Hello.
I'm Caleb. This is Ghost Chris. Ghost Chris. This...
Hello, Ghost Chris. And hello, Caleb.
So, wait, are we, what?
There we go. I can't like see half the screen basically.
Okay.
So welcome to the chats. I hope you're going to lead me along with the rest of the chat about what we're talking with virtual intimacy during COVID-19.
Yeah, so I'm just doing a chat about how Animal Crossing allowed people to experience like close, intimate relationships with people in ways that they couldn't do because we were all locked down in our houses. Intimacy, I think some people take that to mean like explicit or sexual intimacy, which is not what I mean by it at all. I just mean like interpersonal and
I'm imagining some strange things with Tom Nook now. So let's divorce from that. Real quick, Michelle, let's get an introduction from yourself since we didn't get that done. Who are you?
So my name is Michelle Lega. I just graduated with my MFA in game design from DePaul University. I focus mostly on narrative design and writing for games. So I'm just sort of little weird games, sort of trying to get into the industry, that sort of thing.
Awesome. All right, cool. That's a pretty fine introduction. So when we're talking about people getting together and communicating,
We're good.
We're good. Oh, I'm getting weird signals off camera here. Apologies. When we're talking about intimacy in this weird world we're in, what up?
We got a video.
Oh. Thank you for the communication code.
I did record a whole video about it.
Let's move. Let's go.
This doesn't mean it. This means cut. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be presenting this talk to you today, and I'm honored to be speaking at GDEX this year. My name is Michelle Lega, and I will be presenting Animal Crossing into Reality, Virtual Intimacy During the Pandemic. This talk will focus on how Animal Crossing New Horizons, released at the beginning of the pandemic, allowed players to connect with each other in a virtual space when they couldn't do so in person. I'm going to start with a little bit of history about me. I graduated with my MFA in game design from DePaul University in March, and I'm interested in looking at how avatars allow players to navigate virtual spaces and feel connected and embodied in digital worlds. So just some background with my experience with Animal Crossing. I actually never played any of the previous Animal Crossing titles, and I hadn't planned on picking New Horizons up. But then, as I'm sure is the story with a number of people, the pandemic hit, and in an attempt to find new ways to stay connected with my friends and fill my time, I bought the game. Before jumping in, I'd like to provide just some stats about the game itself. It was published on March 20th, 2020, which, if you can remember, was just at the beginning of the pandemic and the lockdowns. It is the second best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch, and it's sold 22 million copies to date. It's currently the second highest selling game of all time in Japan, second only to Pokemon Red and Blue, and it's the second best-selling game in the world in 2020. So for anyone who doesn't know, Animal Crossing is a life simulation game that plays out in real time. It allows players to customize an avatar and a house, and the game is focused around interacting with your animal neighbors, shopping at the shops, growing flowers and trees, fishing, and otherwise just collecting and designing your space. This version of Animal Crossing, New Horizons, takes place on an island that you develop out with various islanders and decorations. It also was one of the first games that allowed for online social interactions. This was a well-received game. It has a 90 out of 100 on Metacritic, and it's generally considered a stellar entry into the Animal Crossing series. To start this talk, I'm going to give a brief overview of the customization options available in the game, as this is what allows players to feel fully immersed in a stylized virtual world. As is often the case with Nintendo, Animal Crossing provides limited and tightly designed options to customize your Animal Crossing avatar. Players have some flexibility over things like eye and hair color, skin tone, and hairstyle, but this isn't going to be a photorealistic portrayal. This customization gives players a controlled but creative ability to personify themselves in-game. It's what I refer to as a two-way mirror. It's the kind of avatar that allows a player to see themselves and to see how others see them and interact with them. In a third-person game, the player can see all of their own actions and movements in a way that doesn't happen in real life. It also allows players to design themselves as they wish to be seen. These options aid in the feeling of embodiment given by navigating the virtual space of Animal Crossing through an avatar. The game also allows players to dress in a variety of outfits. So if you want, you can dress in a smart business outfit, naptime pajamas, or even as a widow in the late 1800s if you wish. The number of outfits available are extensive, and they really encourage creative expression. Another aspect of the game is designing your house. I won't get too much into that, but one of the bonuses of having complete creative control over your own virtual house is that you can make an entirely green room if you'd like. As most games do in this age, Animal Crossing New Horizons has online social aspects. I'm going to first review the designed social aspects, which are the social parts of the game that were intentionally designed by Nintendo, and then I'm going to later discuss how the game allows for emergent social experiences. Some of the in-game social interactions include visiting other people's islands, which you could do only if both of you were online and the other person had opened their gates, meaning they were welcoming visitors on their island. You could also send gifts and letters to people at any time, which they will receive in their mailbox. And what I consider to be the most integral part of the game is something that isn't even integrated in the game itself. It's the voice chat. When New Horizons came out, there was some consternation among fans that it didn't allow for in-game voice chat, as many online games do. Instead, to participate in voice chat, players have to download a separate Nintendo Switch app on their phones and connect to the voice chat while interacting with other people in-game. This may seem like a complicated way of encouraging social interaction, but because the voice chat went through the phone instead of through the game, it gave the online interactions a much more intimate feeling. By using a phone to communicate, it feels similar to calling someone or video chatting with someone on the phone. These are experiences that are usually planned and feel more grounded in reality. Connecting a real-life communication device to a virtual life game helped bridge the gap in terms of making it feel more like an in-person interaction. The other part of the phone app allowed players to type chat messages or send reactions through their phone. This allows for much quicker responses because using the in-game chat text can be much more laborious to type out on your Switch console. So now that I've talked a little bit about the intentionally designed social interactions, I want to get more into the emergent social interactions. These are experiences in the game that weren't explicitly designed by Nintendo, but instead it came about because players started using Animal Crossing to replace in-person situations and interactions that they were missing due to the lockdowns and the pandemic. This background on this screen is a screenshot of a birthday party for my friend Jess. She hosted a group of friends on her island for a costume party and a concert. We all brought gifts, and we used the voice chat to sing happy birthday to her. So by using Animal Crossing, we were allowed to celebrate her birthday in person, even though we weren't able to actually be in person. Another aspect of the game and using its social functions allows people to interact in a way that mimics real life situations, like buying a ticket for a show, for example. The game Animal Crossing can also be used to do things that could never be done in real life. The benefit of having a large number of design elements is that players can design rooms in their house or spaces on their island that would never be feasible in real life. Here, I decorated my basement to look like a dungeon, which I eagerly showed off to anyone who visited my island. Entering someone's house in Animal Crossing feels like an extremely intimate look into their life. What sorts of rooms do they want? Are they using their house to be expressive, to experiment, to be funny? How often do they redecorate? One of my friends actually created multiple Switch accounts so that they could have multiple houses on their island, and they introduced a narrative about the 3 people living on their island. This sort of emergent playstyle gives the player control over how they interact in the world and how they show their personality to others. Many experiences in Animal Crossing also feel very clandestine. After all, it's nearly impossible to take a nap with your friends in a clam-themed room while all wearing sparkly outfits in real life, and yet in-game, this happened almost unintentionally. It becomes intimate to see yourself in a room with others, wearing similar outfits or participating in similar activities. This goes back to the two-way mirror aspect of watching your avatar interact with other people's avatars. Players also use Animal Crossing to recreate real-life games. It's fascinating to see the way players would work within the confines of the design to find their own ways to play. Some examples: players would play musical chairs on their island. This act of participating in play within a game itself demonstrates how easy it is for players to feel personified through their avatar. Hide and seek was another common game played in Animal Crossing. A great example that I unfortunately don't have a screenshot of is the time my friend Dave hosted an Easter egg hunt on their island. It was during the Easter Bunny egg event, and they redesigned their whole island to be able to hide eggs behind trees and cliffs and houses, and they hosted friends over to go search for them. So it allowed us to express and engage in an activity that is usually an in-person activity. These emergent social interactions are one indicator of the way Animal Crossing created spaces for virtual intimacy. One of my favorite social activities in the game is wishing on shooting stars with my friends. This feels like the most intimate experience you could have with someone. For context, occasionally in the game, an island will have a meteor shower at night. Wishing on the shooting stars give you star shards, which can be used to craft rare objects. Players will often advertise when they're having a meteor shower and invite their friends over to partake. No matter whose island I'm on or who I'm with, when I'm participating in a meteor shower with other people, we will always find each other on the island and stand next to each other. This simple act of moving a virtual avatar through a virtual space to find another virtual avatar feels so poignant. I want to stand next to my friends while we talk and wish on stars. It feels incredible to be able to do this in-game. I've spent hours watching virtual stars while using the voice chat to talk with other people in this game. In those moments, I feel more like I'm with them in person than in any other form of virtual communication that I've tried. Players naturally gravitate toward using Animal Crossing for social experience. Game designer Rami Ismail opened his Animal Crossing island to celebrate Suhoor and Iftar with others during Ramadan. Something that is usually celebrated in person became an important virtual experience. About Animal Crossing, Rami has said, "I think the main thing about Animal Crossing is that it's a place." And it is a place. The sun rises and sets when our sun rises and sets, and players experience the in-game world much the same way they experience the real world. Players would set up places to mourn for lost loved ones in-game, grave sites or memorial areas. Having a physical space to mourn allowed them to experience a fundamentally human emotion that otherwise would not have been possible due to the pandemic. But Animal Crossing is also used for celebratory events. When I graduated from grad school, because there was no in-person graduation and I didn't get a cap and gown, I dressed myself up in Animal Crossing, hung my diploma on the wall, and took a screenshot. So now this is what I have in lieu of a real graduation photo. And my friend Jess and her fiance Heather had planned to get married earlier this month. Unfortunately, the wedding had to be canceled due to COVID. So instead, they took photos in Animal Crossing to commemorate their originally scheduled wedding day. These are photos and screenshots that we're going to have to commemorate these really important dates. And just because they're not real life photos doesn't mean that these experiences didn't really happen. Animal Crossing's New Horizons provided a virtual space for players to connect and socially develop intimacy during a time when most of the world was staying inside, away from other people. By feeling embodied in a customizable avatar, in a customizable space, players interacted with each other as they want. They express emotions and they play the way that they want. Animal Crossing provides the space and the tools, and the players create the emergent social interactions. I'd like to end with this screenshot of a bit of emergent social interaction that my friend Jess and I engaged in while playing around with the various reactions in game. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in, and thank you to the organizers of GDEX for putting on such a wonderful conference. If you have any questions, you need to reach out to me. My website is michellelega.com, or my Twitter handle is @Michelle_Lega. Thank you.
Chris is corporeal again. Yay!
I did it. Baby and I did it together.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say Baby wasn't here either.
She wasn't.
I feel
No.
bad.
Are we pulling her in?
Yeah, we're getting them in now.
Okay. Exciting.
Okay. Slowly but surely.
Got a shout out for important little games. Second Life is still around. It's actually still pretty large.
Second Life is still a thing?
Yeah. Friend makes assets for it.
What was that? Hey, Michelle.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for watching.
Our pleasure. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
So you graduated virtually?
Yeah, I did. I got to see my PowerPoint slide with my photo at virtual graduation. It was great.
Well, graduation ceremonies are a little overrated, so you might have lucked out a little bit on that.
Yeah, probably.
Sorry, pulling up some questions there. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you being a part of GDEX this year. Have you been to GDEX before? I can't remember.
No, I haven't. This is my first time.
Oh, exciting.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to drink a little water here. I apologize. I'm thirsty. I just got back from a walk.
That sounds like a dream.
It's hard coming back from the dead.
Yeah, it is hard
It's
coming
thirsty
back from the
work.
dead. So, are you still playing Animal Crossing?
I actually am not. So I had thought a lot about it. I sunk like 200 hours into it, easy.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like a month or two ago, I kind of stopped playing because I had kind of gotten Animal Crossing out. This topic was something that I was really interested in and wanted to talk about a lot. So I had to like boot up my game and update it to like go in and take all those screenshots again. So we'll see. I might get back into it now that they have this cool Halloween event going on.
Yeah, I'm in a similar position where, in addition to COVID, some other like rough personal stuff were happening. So I was Animal Crossing it. It was just what you needed for a little bit, but after about 2 or 3 months, I was like, I think I'm good. Plus, my house was an absolute disaster, and I didn't want to clean it up. I figured I should probably clean up my real house before I clean up my Animal Crossing house.
Yeah, they have cockroaches now in Animal Crossing.
Really?
In your house. Yeah, I went back in my house and there are cockroaches everywhere. You have to like step on them to kill them. It was not great.
If you don't play for a while, a bunch of cockroaches will show up.
Oh.
Like weeds everywhere, you get cockroaches.
Gross. Let's see. We got a question for you. Do you have any experience with Among Us as a new social game? What do you think about that?
I haven't personally played it at all, but I've seen it happening all over the place, and I think it's really, really interesting to see how these games, because Among Us originally came out a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see how these social games that, for the most part, the devs had kind of moved on, all of a sudden have this huge influx in popularity because everyone's at home and everyone needs to find a game to play. I know like that happened with Jackbox. It happened with, I think that's part of the reason why Fall Guys got so big. Just all the games that you can play online, especially games you can play with your friends. And because you can play Among Us with your friends, you can play it on mobile, it becomes really accessible for people who don't usually play games but need a way to connect with other people.
Yeah, totally. I've only been playing Among Us for a little bit, but it's an interesting sort of social psychological. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like game theory in a box, I guess. But
yeah.
Whereas Animal Crossing is obviously designed to be more, not collaborative, but more lighthearted, fun, like definitely more creative in terms of personal expression.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to
Yeah,
read this question?
the next question, which I'll elaborate a little bit. I've not played Animal Crossing. I was much more an MMO kind of guy for how I got my socialization game. So I played WoW from vanilla up through PC. And it was nice when vanilla relaunched, getting to meet back with all the people that I used to know and people that I thought I once knew. So I think that kind of leads into this next question. What do you think are some of the key points of creating more intimate social games to share spaces with friends?
I think a lot of that has to do with being able to customize. I know people in the chat were bringing up Second Life, which was a huge thing because you could customize your space, you could customize yourself. The other thing from my perspective with Animal Crossing and why it lent itself so well to this sort of forming like positive relationships is that it is really tightly designed. Nintendo forces you to be very specific about the ways that you interact with people. You can't just meet random strangers on Animal Crossing. You have to be friends with them to go to their island. You have to use specific chat functions. You're limited in the amount of text that you can send. You can't customize that much. You can customize a little bit, but you have to follow their strict set of rules, which all encourage this positive interaction with people. So it sort of allows friendships to be built. And because there's no competitive aspect to it, the way that a lot of online games have, it makes it a lot easier for people to be friendly and nice to each other and give gifts and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michelle, we got to wrap up, but thank you so much for being a part of GDEX. I really enjoyed your talk. And maybe next year we'll be able to get you out in person for a second year.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to come to. I wish I had come in the past. I don't know why I didn't.
That's all right. And we mentioned earlier that because you're from DePaul, right? We got quite a few DePaul speakers this year. So you showed up as a group.
Yeah, when I saw the speaker application, I sent it to all the MFAs to apply.
So you're the culprit. You're the super spreader.
I can't say that the other people might have had the idea on their own, but I did send it along.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. Have an awesome weekend, and hopefully we'll see you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.